You want to talk 0 to 100? Today is that day. It's NBA trade deadline day. 3 p.m. Eastern time is the drop down date. But Tony East of Locked On Pacers knows more than enough about who wants to wait until 3 p.m. Eastern time to have it go down. Welcome into Locked On Sports special edition of coverage of the 2024 NBA trade deadline. Listen, you guys got out to a rousing start this morning as we got the news earlier today that the Sixers are indeed acquiring Buddy Hield from the Pacers for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks, according to multiple sources. And I know, Tony, that you've been out there pounding the pavement to confirm as well what this really means. We know with Hield at 31, still one of the NBA's premier three-point shooters, averaging 12 points per game just this season across 52 games with the Pacers. But he's a guy that addresses an obvious need for the 76ers. They're ranking in the bottom 5 in the NBA in three-point attempts and makes this season. And Tony, you know, in this league, despite the fact that the Sixers are, of course, down the MVP, Joel Embiid, it's all about shooting to try to keep pace, no pun intended. So that being said, let me ask from your perspective, why do you think this deal went down today?
Yeah, the Pacers are in an interesting spot where Hield plays for them every game, right? So he has value to them and their playoff push, especially after they acquired Pascal Siakam last month. They love to move early and get us going on these trade talks every day. But he's on an expiring contract, and he would be an unrestricted free agent come July. They offered, at least discussed extensions with him before the season. They talked about that before the year, and nothing happened, right? So clearly they knew that maybe they were going to be apart on what that offer could be or what his future could even be in Indiana. With that information, I think able to know that it could be hard for them to retain him. And so after the trade deadline, they lose a lot of flexibility with him and with the team. And so it does make sense that they feel like they can get enough value for someone in that position to do a trade, even if it maybe makes them a little bit worse this season. So Morris and Korkmaz, not the level of player that Buddy Hield is, but getting 3 second-rounders, one of which could be decent in the upcoming draft, was apparently enough for them to say, you know what, we're willing to take a small step back this season because we know we might lose Buddy Hield in a couple months.
Indeed, and lose him and pretty much get nothing for it. So yeah, you want to make the move when you absolutely can. Now, like you said, Morris individually, Korkmaz individually, second-round picks individually, but collectively maybe an even deal, you feel?
Yeah, you know, the Morris and Korkmaz are also expiring deals, so maybe they would have some sign and trade or value in the future for the Pacers, because this year they're certainly worse than Hield, like I said, but maybe Korkmaz could be the backup small forward for the Pacers. I don't know what Morris's value would end up being in Indiana. The 3 second-rounders, I think, are the big appeal, especially the one that they got for the 2024 draft is likely going to be from the Toronto Raptors via the Sixers. And right now that pick's 36th, which is pretty good, close to the top of the second round with the new second round pick exceptions that are in the new CBA. Those contracts are valuable. Those players are valuable. And the Pacers, now going for it, need some cheap contributors going forward. So getting a solid second rounder, I think, was the key part of this for them, because Morris and Korkmaz don't seem to be the level of contributors that they would need going forward.
Yeah, and when you think about it, Tony, like you said, it may be a slight step back, but the Pacers might be the kind of team that is somewhat in a position to take maybe a slight step back, because I'll call it, what I've been calling it is the middling of the Eastern Conference. It's sort of like you've got your 1-2 punch at the top, and then you've got your bottom dwellers, and then you've kind of got it middling. And I think it's like 6 teams, the Pacers among them, that are kind of middling right now. Of course, Indiana in that 6th spot. They are on a 2-game win streak. And when you look at the team right behind them, you've got the Miami Heat, right, that are just about maybe like a game and a half back. They also have won a couple games in a row. So it's kind of one of those middling situations. And then you've got the Magic, Chicago, and somehow the Hawks still are at that top 10, that 10 spot. So that's kind of that group that's trying to avoid the play-in, if you will. But on that same token, they're sitting pretty comfortably, but it's also intriguing. And sometimes, Tony, I know it's about the partner that, you know, you can get with, who actually has the ability to pull into the trade and hopefully pull into a deal without actually going into a 3-team trade situation, which we both know makes it even more complicated in the association, but intriguing as well, because of course the Sixers are the team that sits right above the Pacers right now.
Exactly. If you look at this middle part of the East, and, you know, clearly by this move, the Pacers still have some long-term thinking in their blood, but they traded for Pascal Siakam 3 weeks ago. They want to be better now, right? Clearly their actions signal that. They're 6th in the East. The team in front of them, who they just traded with and made better, the Philadelphia 76ers, lost Joel Embiid for some amount of time. Like, they're not uncatchable in the standings. So that makes it extremely fascinating from a Pacers perspective to not only put a small dent, I don't know how they feel about the difference in contributions between Hield and the players they got, but a small dent in their short-term success, also helping the team right in front of them, is a fascinating part of this, which is why I think they had really good either about the best pick they're getting in this trade or just knowing that they don't have long-term value here with Hield on their roster. Maybe that has to be, strong considerations, considering, like you said, there's this jumble for 5 through 8, 5 through 10, whatever, in the East, with teams fighting for playoff spots and play-in positioning. Pacers clearly want to be in the postseason this year. Otherwise, why go get Pascal Siakam? And yet trading away a contributor, albeit one who's lost some minutes this season. I think that's fascinating and says a lot about what they felt about Hield's long-term future.
Indeed. Well, listen, if you guys want more on the Pacers, and not just this move today, but moves throughout the remainder of the regular season, and as Tony mentioned, in that 6th spot, hopefully into the postseason, you absolutely have to check out our guy, Tony East, on Locked On Pacers. Thanks so much for stopping by. We're going to be here all day giving you guys the best of the 2024 NBA trade deadline right here at Locked On Sports.